What's up, YouTube? All right, so I'm out here in the Palisades right now, and I'm off of Via de las Olas, okay? And right here to my left, you got a property for sale. Today I wanted to talk a little bit about the real estate market on a national level and also on a local level in the Pacific Palisades. I'll go ahead and flip the camera around so you guys can see. I just wanted to say what's up, all right? Yeah, so today I wanted to talk about the real estate market on a national level and on a local level. You know, I follow this guy on YouTube. His name is Nick Jurley, and he has this company called Reventure Consulting. He's probably one of the most hated housing data analysts on YouTube. And I think one of the main reasons for that is because he probably has the biggest following and the loudest voice on YouTube, talking about how there are many states in the United States and many cities and many major metros that we're starting to see some pretty significant home price declines. States like Florida, states like Texas, states like Arizona, Georgia, Colorado. You know, and obviously it's real estate is very local, right? Everything is location, location, location. You know, just to say home prices in Arizona are going down, that's a big generality, right? It comes down to the zip code and the location and the views and the schools and all of that stuff. But the fact that we're even able to have conversations about home prices starting to go down is unbelievable. And I think a lot of people who have skin in the game don't want to accept that truth. They don't want to accept the fact that in 32 out of 50 states, home prices went down in May of 25. They don't want to accept that because they got skin in the game. You know, and this kid, all he talks about is how inventory in Florida, in Texas, in Arizona, in Nevada, in Georgia, in the Carolinas, in California, in Colorado, inventory is exploding. Everyone's listing their houses for sale and nobody's buying. And as a result, you're starting to see some really significant price declines. And he always goes back to Florida. You know, and I think that his theory is in 2008, the epicenter of the housing downturn was really in like Nevada and Las Vegas and in Arizona and Phoenix. Like home prices went down by so much in Las Vegas, Nevada, because there was so much speculation. And I think what this kid is pushing is Florida will be the new Nevada for this downturn, you know? And people still have a hard time wrapping their head around that. The fact that I can even say that with any little bit of confidence is just totally fake news. Unbelievable. It's impossible. When in reality, it's happening. You know, if I told you guys back in 2021 that home prices in Austin, Texas would be down 20% in 2025, from 2022 to 2025, they would be down 20%. You'd say, Cameron, you're an idiot. You need to shut your channel off and shut your mouth. You have no idea what you're talking about. But I'd be right. And Nick would be right. And this is happening at a time when we're not even in a recession. Home prices in Austin, Texas are down 20% from 2022 to 2025. That's unbelievable. And I'm sure it's happening in many cities on the western coast of Florida and on the eastern coast, all of Florida. Oh no, these are beach communities. They don't go down. They don't go down in value. They only go up. This is like one of the largest speculative bubbles ever. And it was so blatant because all of the cities that I just listed off, whether it's Denver, Colorado, Phoenix, Arizona, San Francisco, California, Austin, Texas, Dallas, Texas, St. Petersburg, Florida, Port St. Lucie, Florida, Naples, Florida, Atlanta, Georgia, all of these cities are really cities where everybody flocked to during the pandemic. Everyone from California and everyone from New York City who was tired of the political environment said, you know what? Now's the opportunity. Now's the time for me to sell my house, cash out, take all that money, and get the hell out of here. And they all went to red states, which are tax-free, you know. Well, they're not tax-free, but you know what I'm saying. What's up, dude? And they inflated this massive bubble. And all of those cities, every single one that I just listed off, is experiencing price declines. Every single one. You know, and one of the reasons why home prices went up so drastically in those areas is because all the money from California and all the money from New York City just flooded into these markets. And people were overpaying ridiculous prices. They said, oh, you want $500,000 for this house in Austin, Texas? No problem, dude. I'll give you $600,000. Let's close the deal today. And you got California money. You know? That's what people, you remember that time? Back in 2020, 2021, 2022, when everyone was flush with PPP loans, everyone was flush with liquidity, the home values went up 20, 30, 40%, doubled in some cases. And there were bidding wars left and right. You want 500 grand? I'll give you 6, bro. I'm from California. You know, and I guess you could say, well, Cameron, what does that have to do with the Pacific Palisades? Well, nothing really. Those are all different states with different rules, different regulations, different everything, different locations, different tax codes, everything. But do you think that people weren't overpaying asking in the Palisades during that time? Anyone who was dying to get their foot in the door and live in these communities, you want $5 million? Dude, I'll give you 5.5. I guarantee you people were overpaying asking in the Palisades. Ridiculous. And now the entire city burned to the ground. Remember all those bidding wars? How many bidding wars do you think are going on in the Palisades right now? How many people do you think are lining up to buy land throughout the Palisades? I'll tell you, it's not very many. And it's not that there's a shortage of land for sale in the Palisades, I'll tell you that much. Everywhere you look, there's land for sale in the Palisades. Everywhere. And apparently, land is selling for anywhere between 10 to 30% less than what it was pre-fire. Which I know is hard to wrap your head around. It's almost unbelievable. But it's true. Land values in the Palisades are down. And there's land for sale everywhere. For whatever reason. There could be many reasons. But it's true. And at the end of the day, it's just there's not going to be very many people who want to live in a construction zone for the next 5 to 10 years. In 30 years from now, is the Palisades going to be wonderful? It's going to be one of the greatest places to live in California. But that's such a long time to wait. And you better have a lot of money to wait. Because if you don't, you could be going bankrupt. And for some people, this wildfire is going to bankrupt them. How many people in the Palisades are on the verge of foreclosure in the Palisades? Is it a lot? Is it a little? I don't know. But I can guarantee you that there's definitely some lots for sale that are going to be short sales. The banks don't want foreclosures. They don't want that. It's better for the bank to do a short sale and take the loss than have the lot go into foreclosure. They don't want that. Look at that view though. Location, location, location. Beautiful. So the banks are really the ones that are going to be biting the bullet with all these lots that are for sale throughout the Palisades. How many of them are going to be short sales? You say, oh, that's ridiculous, Cameron. You're out of your mind. You know, a couple of months ago, I posted a video. It was a reaction video to this kid's channel, The Artist of Real Estate. And he was talking with a builder about how he purchased a lot just before the fire for $3 million. And now how he thinks he can only get $1.8 million for it. In other words, he can't sell the lot. He owes more on the property than what it's worth. People like that can go into default very quickly. Companies and businesses that are dependent on low interest rates to survive are very susceptible to risk and failure. Those are the types of people, those are the types of businesses that fail in a high interest rate environment. And real estate is a business. This is a business. This is how people get wealthy in Southern California. Real estate. You see a dirt lot, some people see millions of dollars. When you see lots for sale in the Palisades, some people see destruction and chaos. Others see defaults, short sales, and opportunity. You just better have some serious cash. So, I just wanted to share that with you guys today. I know I always come back to this doom and gloom mentality, but it's very hard to be optimistic and see the light at the end of the tunnel when you're constantly surrounded by just destruction. You know, there's so many obstacles facing California in particular. Whether or not you agree or disagree, that's fine. It doesn't matter. I'm American. I can say whatever I want. You know, I can have my own opinions. And if I'm wrong, okay, I'm wrong. So what? I don't lose anything. If you got some serious skin in the game and you're wrong, you lose everything. There's a difference. And I can guarantee you, a lot of people who lived in these communities had everything invested on this. Everything was in on it. How could you lose? It's the Pacific Palisades. There's no shot you're gonna lose money. It's one of the most desirable communities in all of Southern California. And some people are still gonna go bankrupt. And for some people, it might be the best thing that ever happened to them. It just depends on your situation. Where am I at? So I'm on Lombard Avenue and Friends Street. Here's a nice little, we'll go over here. This guy keeps circling around. It's on the phone, brother. You know, and if they cut interest rates, and they will, how quickly will the housing market recover? Because from what I understand, nobody's buying houses right now. You know, and they always say that there's a lag effect. When you raise rates or you cut interest rates, you don't see it show up in the data for at least a year to a year and a half. Jerome Powell, the Federal Reserve Chairman, he always says these interest rate hikes and interest rate cuts can have long and variable lags. We're seeing these lag effects already in the real estate market. On a national level, it went from bidding wars over asking to ghost town. And it only took a couple of years. These higher for longer interest rates are having a huge impact on the real estate market. Will everything be fine in 30 years? Yep. Everything will be wonderful. But that's a long time to wait. Could you imagine being the kid who bought a home in Texas for 500 grand back in 2022, and now that property is worth 400,000? How much further are prices going to go down? Will they continue to go down? Will they recover? And if they do start to recover, how long is it going to take just for you to even be able to break even again? How many years are you going to have to wait for the value of your home to go back up to 500? I don't know. Nobody knows. If you do know, you put it in the comments section and you let me know, because we can make a lot of money. All right? If you know what the Federal Reserve is going to do, you know they're going to start printing money again. Here's another property for sale. Or you know that when they're going to cut interest rates, you tell me. If you're good friends with Nancy Pelosi, you tell me, and she gives you all the inside secrets. You let me know, dude, and we'll figure something out, all right? Anyways, I'm just being silly. And then you got this poor little house, man. Little old blue. Little old green. Poor bastard. I mean, what do you do? You know? What do you do if you're in this situation? It's terrible. How many lots are going to go into foreclosure? Will there be foreclosures? I know the banks don't want that. So if there are some lots that are in default, I would assume that it's better for the banks to just do the short sale and take the loss. And I've already given you an example of how that's possible. Builder buys a lot for $3 million, now it's only worth 1.8. That's how it's possible. So anyways, I thought I would just share with you guys some of my ridiculous thoughts and comments today. All right. So until next time, guys, thank you. Oh, and thank you again. I don't say this enough. I always forget. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I can't say thank you enough. I really appreciate all of the love and support and the comments and the donations Carol, thank you. I really appreciate that. You don't have to do that. Nobody has to donate money or anything. All right, these videos don't cost me a penny to make. Please, it's totally not necessary. But thank you, I really appreciate that. It's super kind of you guys. So until next time, I'll talk to you guys later, okay? Peace out.